Pivot, talk a little Browns. Jason's going to join us from the Combine in a few minutes. Before we do that, we have to address some of the questions and comments that Andrew Berry was asked and answered yesterday during his press conference. The first question he got was about the quarterback position. He was asked about the quarterback position a number of times. I'm going to read you 4 different quotes from Andrew Berry at his press conference yesterday. Then we're going to dissect kind of what that means for the future of the Browns at that position. As Bull astutely put earlier this morning, it's the first time we've ever given our opinion on any of this stuff. So
that's true.
Make sure you stay tuned. This is groundbreaking stuff. But Andrew Berry, the first quote from Andrew Berry was asked about possibly adding to the quarterback room. Berry said, quote, "I think there's always the possibility, but we have a long way to go before we get to that point. We expect to have a competitive room, and that's important to us. But what that looks like, I can't exactly define that as we sit here today."
What was the question for this one?
If they'll look to add to the quarterback room. The next question he was asked was about investing in the quarterback position. Berry said, and I quote, "It's the most important position. We wouldn't talk about it any differently if you're drafting an O lineman or a D lineman or something along those lines. I don't think that you can invest enough in it." Then he was asked about a competition. Will there be a competition? When will they name a starter, etc.? His response, and I quote, "Any player on our roster, we would want to compete. We believe in competition at every spot. That's no different at quarterback. Deshaun's been working really hard. He's been working his tail off. And like I said, we're excited to go into April with all of our players across the roster because competition is something we really believe in." And last but not least, he was asked, okay, you want competition? Is Dylan Gabriel still part of the competition? Berry said, and I quote, "He," being Dylan Gabriel, "may be forgotten externally, but he's not forgotten to us. He's everything, like he's working like he's going to handle everything that's within his control. And look, we love all of our players on the roster. Dylan's a guy that has a bright future in this league, and we're going to continue to work with him."
So you gave us 4 quotes that he said nothing in any of them.
He's a master of deception.
Nothing. He says that's why Todd Monken's going to be good because unlike Berry and Stefanski, Monken will give you something. Jimmy will give you something at least because he talks out his ass all the time. But did he say anything there? He said nothing in those 4 quotes.
Nothing noteworthy.
No.
So and we'll ask any of you
We
guys,
might do this. We might do that.
So
we might do this. We might do that.
Outlook of how you think the Browns are going to approach the offseason, whether it's sticking with the guys they have, whether it's bringing in an external candidate. Mary Kay Cabot has reported that they're at least on the radar for Malik Willis and Ty Simpson. Based on what Berry said, does that change your thoughts on how they're approaching the quarterback position?
He didn't say anything. Of course they should. Yeah, I think it's funny that he said it's the most important position. We got to invest in it. They invested crazy, obviously, in Watson. That didn't work out. Besides that, they've invested nothing into that position.
3rd and a 5th round pick.
They've used late picks and journeyman free agents besides Deshaun Watson.
I feel like everybody else on this panel. I mean, it ain't nothing to really take away from it. He ain't really say anything. And I think that, so a part of communication, healthy communication, is being able to actively listen and have good listening skills. And we got a brand new head coach. And I got this open-minded approach that, you know what, I am open-minded to anything it is they want to do. I'm with it until I'm not. Basically mean, like, if I see them on the field and the offense don't look like it should be, clicking at all cylinders, or the personnel out there ain't getting it done, or I don't like how he's managing the game, then my opinion had changed. But he's a brand new head coach, and I said all along, I was somebody who really wanted Kevin Stefanski fired. You can't ask for change and then try to critique every single move that they're making before they even hit the field. So, he's saying everything that I kind of feel like he should be saying at this point.
You talking about Monken or Berry?
Like Andrew Berry, as far as competition at every position. Well, of course you want competition at every position, right? Like, the only penciled-in starter, we talked about this yesterday, is 95 and 21 that I can think of off the top of my head, maybe 75 if he returned. But outside of that, it's going to be competition at every position. And, of course, it makes sense to have competition at the quarterback position. If we had that position on lock, if we had a lot of positions on lock, our record wouldn't have been what it was, and we wouldn't be having the turnover that we had. I thought other things he said in the press conference was more kind of like eye-opening than any of those quotes. Personally.
Really? What did you think was eye-opening?
So just things that I took note of. He said that the Browns will be more aggressive in free agency this year. He said they'll be very particular, in the free agents that they target. But he thought in 2027 it'd be more of a hyper focus on certain guys.
We're doing that topic later in the show.
He talked about Bitonio still working through his retirement, and he talked about how he's earned the time and the space to kind of think about it, and if he wanted to come back, he would, he would welcome him back, and he just kind of spoke to the staff that Monken put together, and he's excited to see this group of coaches. So,
I wonder if Bitonio would like to wait to see what the Browns are going to do at quarterback before making a decision.
Well, they only pushed it back 2 weeks, so
yeah, I guess they can't do that.
They can't do that. Yeah,
I was curious to know, because it seemed like by all accounts he was going to retire. And then the Browns hired George Warhop as the offensive line coach, a guy that he was familiar with. And I'm just curious if that made him go,
Could be. It could be.
Let me see if I can get
a new coach.
shot.
Maybe he's, there's some optimism with that, even though he had a really good relationship with Kevin Stefanski. But
I just think when you look at Joe Bitonio, you don't want to miss it. You don't want to. Yeah. You don't want to it seems far fetched, but let's say that the Browns did go on a run and made the playoffs and went deep into the playoffs. I know it looks crazy, but I'm saying, what if they did? Okay. And Bitonio retired, he'd be like, man, I done put all these years in, and they finally done figured it out, and now they will not
go. Remind me of Tiki Barber. The Giants won the Super Bowl right after he left.
So, I understand, because a lot of Browns players would tell you, we're close. Oh, we're close. We're not as far as you think we are.
Are there any players on any team that wouldn't say that?
Jabril Pepper said that we ate, and Cam Ward to tell you we ate.
And the NBA, Kawhi Leonard said it's over.
He did.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Joel and Joe
Kawhi
Thomas
Leonard hilarious.
Did what?
Joel Bitonio and Joe Thomas are tight, and Joe told us on this show that I think he told Joel, hey, once you hang it up, you can never get it back. Yeah. Don't hang it up unless you're 100% sure. And maybe he's just.
There are other options. Sure. He's allowed to go to another team if he wants.
He's a free agent.
But it won't hit the same.
It won't hit the same for him.
You think if he wins, it wouldn't hit the same?
I think the bonus for him is he got the blessing of his wife and his children and his family. I've been told that, the people close to him said, listen, take your time, and if your body feel right and it's something you want to do, we're not stopping you from doing it.
It'll be interesting to see what he decides to do. Getting back to the quarterback situation, again, I've said it consistently. There's no way it's going to be the same three quarterbacks. I don't know what the change is going to be. Obviously, it seems most likely that Dillon Gabriel's the one that's on the way out. However,
they going to get?
I will say this. If they did sign Malik Willis, or if they did draft a quarterback in the first round,
he'd be the starter.
Then I think it could be Sanders that's actually gone, if that happened. If they bring in a quarterback who is probably going to be the starter, I think Sanders is more like, because to me, Dillon Gabriel's clearly a backup. Sanders, you don't know what he is. So if you bring in a guy who's clearly they intend to make the starter, I think Sanders is the more likely one to go. I think what's more likely is they bring in somebody who's, in competition to be a starter or a backup, and then Dillon Gabriel would go. And I think that's the more likely scenario.
The Malik Willis thing is really the one that's been picking up steam. I think I was listening to Ken and Lima talk about this today.
Well, you should have been listening to my podcast with Zach Jackson when we talked about it.
What time was your podcast?
Well, it wasn't live. I recorded it at 9 o'clock. But it's out there now, Tyvis.
You're not going to guilt trip me.
I know.
First of all,
busting each
the only reason that I was able to see, I didn't hear it. I saw it on Twitter.
Okay.
Because as you know, when they're on, I'm on.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
I can't listen to nobody's stuff. But anyways, no, they was just having a debate about, I think a caller called in, was having a debate with Lima about Malik. And my thing with Malik Willis is I don't understand how anybody outside of the Dolphins can feel comfortable giving him that much money. I just don't get it. The only reason that the Dolphins, why I keep saying the Dolphins
they familiar,
is because Jeff Hafley and the general manager have been with him for the past 2-3 years. Yeah. So, they actually seen him every day. They actually know everything about him. Everybody else is a crapshoot.
It is a crapshoot, but so is every quarterback you draft. It's a crapshoot, too.
That's true.
Until they're proven they're a crapshoot.
They got Quinn Ewers.
But you don't have to spend that kind of money, and he's going to cost more money. Jason Lloyd is at the Combine.
He at work?
He is at work. We're going to get to Jason
how much actual work is he doing?